So let's begin with the basics. Can you tell me your full name and your birth date?
Loretta Faye Shumake. Did you want the James Guarini Shumake?
That is a part of the story.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And when were you born?
July 26, 1924.
So you have a birthday coming up.
Yes.
Which one?
Well, I think it's going to be 101. If I can count. Yes. Oh.
And where were you born?
I was born, I always called it Morton, but Washington, but I think my birth certificate might say Bremer. And Bremer was a little town about 8 miles out of the town of Morton. And we lived on a little farm out there, and I was born at home there.
You were born at home?
Mm-hmm.
Not in a hospital?
No. And the night that I was born, the doctor, I don't know how they ever got a doctor down, no phones, no cell phones, no nothing, but how they got a doctor down there. And the history says that that was the night that the town of Morton almost burned up. There was a big fire in the town of Morton, which was, like I said, probably a good thing I wasn't at the hospital in Morton. But no, I was born at home.
What? The day you were born,
that night, I was born during the night, and the doctor was down delivering me, and in the town of Morton was burning, so that and the doctor came from Morton, like I said, I think it was about 8 miles.
So your given name was Loretta.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But that's not what people call you.
No, my sisters thought that apparently that I needed a more of a baby name or child, but I had 3 older sisters. One was Merle, and one was Lena Pearl, and one was Estelle, and they thought Loretta that needed a baby or child. So, of course, they have a different story to tell of what my mother does. My mother says that that she knew a poem or a song about a duck or a little ducky or something, and but my sisters say that when I was learning to walk, I waddled like a little duck. So I don't know which is the truth, but anyway, I got the nickname of Ducky, and so 100 years later, I'm still being called Ducky.
Why do you think that name stuck?
I don't know. I have no idea, except I guess maybe somebody thought it was kind of cute, but I don't know if I was, but it did stick, and even in high school and everything, I was still called Ducky. Yeah.
Did anybody in your life ever call you Loretta?
Oh yeah, I still have people, and particularly in the workforce, but the nickname Ducky got around, and too. But yeah, I even had some of the teachers call me Ducky. Yeah, that's fun.
All right, so I'd like to go back to that first little house. You said it wasn't even in Morton. What was the name of the town?
Yeah, Bremer.
Bremer. Okay. And tell me about that house. What do you remember of it?
Well, it was old. Yeah, I mean, it was just an old farmhouse, and I don't know how many. We did have acres, and it we had to cross the Tilton River to get from the road. We had a footbridge that crossed the Tilton River, and then we had to walk a ways. I'm not good at how many feet or something, but I mean, it was a little ways, maybe from here almost to, it would be probably equivalent to a couple of blocks or so to our house from the river, and that's how so we didn't drive to our house. I mean, we just parked on the road, and that's about it. I remember we had a big barn and animals. We had cows, and
Yeah.
it was like a little farm. Always had a little garden, and
This was a question that Diana had. Neither of the houses you grew up in had running water, right? Or electricity, or did the second one have electricity?
we didn't have electricity in Martin. I know we did have it up up by Lake Taps. There, it was part of Lake Taps, part of Kelly Lake, as we called it.
So she was curious how Merle would get ready for a date, or even know that the date was coming. If she was going out on the town, without electricity and without water, did she go down to the river to,
Well, when I was probably 3 years old, maybe 2.5 to 3, my mother went to a sanitarium for TB. And so we kind of dispersed for a while. Merle, my oldest sister, went to Randall to live with Annette, and another sister went to Snohomish to live with Annette, and Estelle and I went up. We were still living in Morton, and we went up to right around up by Lake Taps or Kelly Lake, where I was raised. We went and lived with Annette there. And I know I wasn't in school at that time, but Estelle started her first grade there. And so I know she was around 6, so I must have been 3. And so then we moved. I think we were there about 1.5 years or so up, lived there, and then we moved back up to Morton or up to Bremer, and so I guess that's why I don't remember too much about the back and forth and where we went and what we did about school. But I do remember getting on the bus. And then when I was 10 is when we moved down up by Kelly Lake again.
Okay. So you grew up during the Great Depression.
Yes.
I heard about a story
Oh.
involving some gas stamps.
Oh, that was... Yes, you heard that, yeah. When I was dating a young man that had gone into the service. And he was home on leave. And his dad had been saving gas tanks, or the gas coupons, or they rationed out, you could only have a certain amount of. So his dad had been saving these for when he got home, he could go and do. And so I had been, excuse me, I'd been up to their place for some reason. I guess he picked me up, and so he and his sister and I were going downtown, and so his dad had gave me the gas stamps to hold, so we were going to get some gas. Well, as we were coming down the hill from Edgewood Hill down into Puyallup, I guess somebody had some gum, and we opened up, a stick of gum or something, and I, not knowing them, but I guess I was threw the paper out the window, but what I threw out was the gas stamps. And we got down to the foot of the hill, and I looked, and I didn't have the gas stamps, but I had the... and, oh my... My friend was very, very unhappy then, and his dad gave me the stamps to hold so they'd be safe, and I threw them out the window. So we park at the foot of the hill, and we start walking up, and and we found them. And they were on the opposite side of the road from where I threw them out. We were going down, and I threw them out the window, but they were... But we did find them.
So, growing up next to a river must have been interesting.
It was, particularly why the reason that we moved to Sumner is because the river would rise when it was stormy and so forth, and it also could cut in back of our house. We had a creek in back of our house, but it was from the river up out of Morton someplace. This creek would cut through, and so we had the creek in the back and the river in the front, and when it would get, the river would rise during storms, well, it flooded us several times. And so my uncle, my mother's brother, lived here in Sumner, and he had that little house up by Kelly Lake, and he moved us down because my dad was not home. My dad was working away, and so, but there was just Mom and I think just Estelle and I. That was in 1934, so I was 10 years old. And so he moved us down so we'd get out of because the house would flood. The river would come clear in.
On both sides.
Yeah, it could come up and flood. I remember us moving out, and I know some of the neighbors came and they carried, I think they had to carry some of us out because it was high. And I remember them talking about going back and letting the cows out of the barn and stuff, so that they wouldn't be trapped in the barn. But I remember them taking us, helping us out over to the road so we could, yeah. I do remember some of that, yeah.
Fire and flood. That's the beginning of your life.
Yeah. Then we went to a little school. It was a 2-room building that the first, second, third, and fourth went to one room, and the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th went in the other room, and one teacher for each room. Yeah. And I finished 8th grade. I went from 5th to the 8th grade there. Well, I had a very close friend. It was Margie Bargeld that lived close to us. And we started, 5th grade. I knew her from the 5th grade on, but she didn't finish the 7th and 8th because I think her folks and one other, there were 4 of us girls in the 7th and 8th grade, but the other 2 of the girls, their parents could afford to pay a tuition for them to come to Sumner, to the junior high in 7th and 8th, but the the other girl and myself, I mean, we couldn't have. I don't suppose it was very much, but we didn't have much money either. But we had to stay at Kelly Lake School and finish there. But Margie became my best friend for years and years. Yeah, she was always a little heavy set, but she was just a real good friend. Besides, she had a good-looking brother. And we were very close too. Yeah, he was really, he was very, a good family. And I spent a lot of time down with them too. It's probably the closest one that I had going to grade school.
Yeah.
And then the other became good friends with a girl that, a lady that died just in December at 101. And I went to her 100th birthday. I went to her 101st birthday. She lived up at Edgewood. And she just lost her in December. She came to my 100th birthday party too. Yeah. Well, I just remember her. It seemed like that she was. It just seemed to me like she worked very hard and was very frail, particularly at the end, the last number of years. But it just seemed like she always worked hard and like I said, it was frail and much older than her years, And I think even my kids would say that, like, she died at 70, but you would have thought that she was much older, maybe. Now I could say probably 90, but who would have thought, but my dad was 73 when he died. He was almost 15 years older than my mother, so he passed away. He passed away in 54, I think, and Mom didn't die till 65.
What were your parents' names?
Dad was Herman Edward, but everybody called him Jimmy. Jimmy James, but everybody called him Jimmy. And Mom was Edna. Moriarty was her maiden name.
Moriarty?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Moriarty.
Like the villain from Sherlock Holmes?
Yeah.
Ah.
Moriarty, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But they were, it just seems to me that my dad wasn't home a lot. I know he worked away. I know he worked in lumber yards, and little logging along the way. And at one time, I don't know, I think he owned a bar up in Morton, and he bartended a lot, But one time I know he was working at Puget on Power and Light, but I think it was like out here at Derringer, and he was a guard at the plant. There was a Puget on Power and Light plant out at Derringer between here and Auburn. And I remember he was, and I remember that because he had a heart attack while he was on the job. And I remember I was just had turned 16, and I did have I don't know if I even had my driver's license yet, but I must have. But I remember I had to go and get him, and somebody must have taken me to where he was, and I had to drive him home anyway. But some of the things that have just popped into my head now, I just thought about that, what he was doing, that I had to go and drive him home, yeah.
From the hospital?
No, I don't think we went to hospital. you didn't go to the hospital
You had a heart
like you
attack?
do now. Yeah, I guess. I remember.
Okay.
Those crazy things, yeah.
So he was like, my heart really hurts. I think I
I
should go
suppose.
home.
I suppose.
Ducky, can you come pick me up? My heart
Yeah.
is...
And how did somebody let us know? We had a phone. This was after we lived here, and we did have a phone. And our number was 9F4. I remember that. And it was one of those on the wall, and you rang it. You had to ring, and ours was 4 rings. When I hear the 4 rings, you knew that was the 9. I don't know what the 9 was, but F was for farmer's line, 9F4, and then the 4 was for the right number of rings when. And then anybody else could listen to your conversation, and
The party line.
yeah, party line. And then if you could lift up the phone if somebody else was talking, you could listen or interrupt her. And they were usually neighbors and stuff, so you could. Oh dear, the things you're bringing back in my mind. One time, Dad was in the CCCs. Do you know what the CCCs? It was a program. It was a federal program that they got youth, which I think would be a good thing for at any time. Youth, kids from maybe 16, 18, and they brought them out and they built roads, built bridges, and did you ever hear Miller, Sylvania campground down south of Olympia, and between Olympia and Centralia there was but I just remember that was one place that my dad had worked with the CCCs. And he was a supervisor because he had a bunch of young kids and kids from New York, and they brought them from all over, and they came out and they built roads, they built bridges, they worked at the mountains, building roads. Yeah, and it was giving kids 18 and older, whatever, an opportunity to make some money and keep them out of trouble, I guess. Really, it was a good program, as far as I know, yeah. And I remember my dad worked there for a while, but his health was never good either, as I remember. Latter years, yeah.
When I think about my parents, it's pretty easy to see which of the siblings are more like my mom and which are more like my dad. I'm curious if you think that way about your sisters and you.
Well, I know my daughter's Diana is. I still say she's more like my mother. Yeah, she was born on her birthday. Diana was born on Mom's birthday, but she May 1st. But as far as my sisters, well, my sister Estelle was probably more like my mother, too. And
in what way?
Oh, her ability to just some of the characteristics of sewing, picked up knowledge of the sewing and cooking and so forth, I guess, I would say. That's kind of the way Diana is too, yeah. Some of those skills that she's gotten. And I don't know about who was like my dad. I'm not sure about that, but
Fair.
yeah. gosh. Ah, there we are. Oh my gosh. Where did you find these? Who had those? Oh, that's some I thought I've got to find. Oh, yeah. I was wishing I had that one. Yeah, because I should have looked at it. Oh, that's good. I'd be darned. I don't know how you got that one.
You all have the same haircuts.
Yeah, probably my mom's scissors.
Oh, that's great.
Different ages, different. Yeah, look at that last one, the one on the right. There we were, a little older.
A little bit.
A little. Oh, what a fun! We used to have a lot of fun. 4 of us.
Yeah.
10-year span. Yeah.
Did you guys ever get in trouble? When do you think the most trouble you ever got up to was?
Of course not.
Of course not.
Oh no, we wouldn't get in trouble. I really don't think anything you'd really call trouble.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who?
I don't think so. Yeah.
Okay.
No, we're on. I'm trying to think. No, I really don't. We probably got in trouble with our spouses a little bit or something, but I mean nothing.
We'll get to that.
There's
We'll get to
nothing.
that.
Yeah, nothing serious.